pomeriggio, ripartiamo con i racconti delle aziende, le organizzazioni, i protagonisti della sostenibilità, i percorsi nuovi verso il rispetto dell'ambiente, ma sostenibilità che abbiamo visto anche stamattina.
Which we saw this morning also covers social sustainability, not just environmental, but also technological sustainability. So let's start with Fabio Benasso, president of the Accenture Foundation. And his experience is particularly important because apart from the role of the foundation, he was the leader of Accenture Italy. And so he has had and he still has contacts with many companies, and so he understands what is the pathway to be covered by the entrepreneurs, the ones that have already been implemented and the ones that are being implemented today in order to answer in order to meet the double challenge, technological and environmental. Good morning. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. This is the fifth time. It's nice to give a contribution to this. I was asked to speak about this topic, covering actually the different topics that have been dealt with by previous speakers. Some of the topics have already been dealt with, and I'll try to focus on the state of the art when it comes to sustainable transition, which is the state of the art. And also, later on, I'll share with you some ideas on what's next. As Kiko Testa said before, I don't think we just simply have to wait for these 4 years, 5 years, in order to have a new nuclear energy. I think that we have enormous opportunities to promote scale-up and to accelerate sustainable transition of our enterprise systems. There are some data which we submitted in Davos, which give us the pulse of what the current situation is. The topic of sustainability, transition, circular economy is a central topic which is on the agenda of politicians, enterprises, small and large, public-private enterprises. And there as well, I think that we all know that sustainability, it's not just about the impact, but it's also about performance. It affects value, growth. Today we've seen that it also gives us the possibility to improve profits and more efficient and effective and sustainable use of resources in the supply chain with an impact on marginality. The question is de-risking. The World Economic Forum this year identified the environmental risks as the element that actually causes 50% of the risks in the short as well as in the medium term. The recent discontinuity we detected because of COVID, inflation, etc., have actually created a favorable context to promote transition. But despite all this, there was much attention towards renewable energy sources. In 2022, there was a peak double-digit growth, but the transformation also affected other companies and other sectors. But there are some data which I think should be shared. A study that was submitted by us in Davos, more than 90% of the CEOs of big companies started to manage discontinuity. So with all the difficulty in the economic, the difficulties in the economic panorama, so to speak, actually had an impact in achieving the net zero targets. So there is a delay in the execution, and all the CEOs confirmed that transition is a central element in order to achieve business objectives as well. So there is this dichotomy, in a way, between a strong commitment companies that publish their plans about the transformation pathway and the actual execution of these pathways. So this is a summary of the state of the art, the results, the implementation, etc. In our opinion, the challenge is to promote a paradigmatic change. The BlackRock representative spoke about trillions of dollars in the United States, but also in Europe. There are funds. Recently, the Net Zero Impact Act has been published. That is an industrial policy to bring back to Europe the basic technology in order to reduce energy dependence. And the challenge, in particular, is to act so that we can shift from pilot projects, from individual solutions to an acceleration. Letizia Moratti mentioned this. Acceleration is essential because this allows us to focus on this. And I think that the companies, over and above the political choices made by Europe and by the individual countries, now have an enormous opportunity. The opportunity to deal with the transformation by accelerating transformation. Sustainability and transition becomes the central topic through which it will be possible to relaunch the transformation of the company, promote the business plan, and allocate resources. So it's not just simply one of the items of the investment plans, which of course might be varied according to the individual situation. In order to do so, I think it is absolutely essential to consider the expectations of the companies. The companies have to reinvent themselves in order to grasp the opportunities, in order to manage the state of the art, but also to change it to be transformed, focusing on new perspectives and new performance levels, with a digital core and an efficient use of productive factors. In order to do so, of course, we cannot have a single recipe. I think there are 4 axes. Some of them have already been mentioned. I'll try to connect them. These are factors which have a different impact in order to promote a scaled growth of the country. We have spoken of technology, innovation, human capital, and I think that this topic has to be better understood because it's a very important topic. And last but not least, there is then the topic of prioritizing investments, measuring the consistency of these investments. And then there is a very Italian question, that is the question of platforms for small and medium-sized enterprises. And this has to do with technology. Over the past few years, we have all witnessed technological innovation, considerable innovation. The cycles have become shorter, the sources of innovation are many. Technology is not just simply an enabler, but it is a core element for transformation if it is used in order to obtain competitive advantage. We spoke about the unicorns this morning, also when it comes to sustainability, as it has been the case in many other sectors. So I think that this gives us the opportunity, and it gives the company the opportunity to monitor and observe it in an active way, not just in a passive way. Understand the level of economic sustainability, the possibility to scale sustainability and to anticipate change, using this vision in order to transform our business, our services and our products. Technology and innovation today is more and more open, and we must see things considering the various cycles will constantly evolve. Technology today is an element that must be used in a combined way. There is not just one single technology that changes. We were speaking about connected machines, data, ability to process data, algorithms, and the ability to interpret data and react, adapting them to products and services. So it's not just one technology, bitchain, IoT, etc. it's the ability to combine all of this in order to promote business value. And here we are touching upon many different topics. First and foremost, the vision, resources, and then also this has to do with the ability of the company to obtain value from change, the ability to change. One of the key elements is human capital, and we have spoken about human capital. Human capital is based on skill, inclusion, enrichment of different jobs, and I think that in this new world we are rediscovering the central role played by technical skills. Skills which are difficult to create, difficult to reward, but these are skills which must be made more hybrid, that is, including also other elements, because the technical skill in and of itself is not sufficient to promote transformation. There is a cultural element. The representative from Generali spoke about awareness. When it comes to sustainability, awareness is absolutely essential, that a company must have. A company must have awareness. Let me make a comparison with the topic of technologies. Over the past few years, we've worked quite a lot so that the organizations can be sufficiently aware and self-confident with the use of technology. So technology not as a threat, but rather as an opportunity to devise and design new ways of working. And so new pathways have been developed in order to be more aware of the use of technology. And so I think that this should be a focus on sustainability in the companies, from HR to marketing, and not just the technical functions should be focusing on this topic. And there's one element we're currently working on. We call them sustainable gyms, in order to create skills that promote the communication of a brand within the framework of sustainability, which is another value that a company must speak about in order to position itself and communicating its pathway. These digital gyms, sustainable gyms, have the objective to highlight the talents, guiding them with techniques related with circularity, because the skills might generate new needs. This is a model followed in the digital world, and it is an action that many different companies can promote in order to create new skills. So everything is based on cooperation in order to create future skills. So it's not just a matter of considering that we are missing, I don't know how many engineers, but there is also a very important element, that is reskilling and upskilling in order to improve the current skills, because we cannot just simply work with people who just recently got a degree. We have spoken about also the happiness of being in a company, and this is a central topic as well, in order to attract the necessary human capital, which remains an essential element in order to deal with these challenges. Let me conclude by saying a few words about supply chains and ecosystems. A company cannot live in a nutshell alone, but it interacts with supply chains, different markets, B2B, B2C, etc. The pathways to promote transformation, sustainable transformation of a company, do not just simply depend on its willingness, but of course there are also consequences upstream and downstream. So within the framework to promote virtuous systemic progress and to promote models of co-development and co-design, it is important to have these models in order to promote a better use of resources, being quick in the execution stage, and also using platforms. Here as well, we are speaking of new standards. We are speaking of an open-minded company, and this is a cultural question, but it's also a technological element. And there is a fundamental topic, that is data. Data about sustainability must be embedded in the flows of dialogue in order to include the new economy in the dialogue. For instance, Gaia X is a company that is working on data space or other sectors. Well, this is the fuel of the supply chains. Sustainability and compliance must be put together so that the whole system can draw benefits from this. And I think that the big companies, in my opinion, can play a very important role in all of this. Big companies have more resources, and so they can invest in human resources, in the transformation processes. And I think that big companies have the opportunity and also the need to act so that their ecosystems can dialogue in order to reach higher levels, so they do not just simply rely on their supply chains, but they promote a virtuous concept which accompanies the growth of the whole of the supply chain. In Italy, we have some important examples of this. Success stories, growth in the network of the various ecosystems. And there is one I'd like to mention, which I'm sure will be dealt with in the next session. That is the experience of ENI with OpenS. OpenS is a digital platform which creates a very broad community, more than 10,000 companies from 80 different countries, 70 different sectors, so quite a large platform which includes services, the finance sector, many different sectors. By being a part of this community, they can share their pathway towards transformation, share best practices, and grasp synergy and opportunities. So it's a virtuous pathway enabled by a big company which is ready to share its capability and its business relations in order to promote transformation. The last topic I'd like to mention is the strategic focus medium to long term on sustainability. Sustainability is an experience, it's sort of a new business, so to speak, together with the business legacy. And so with some difficulty in growing to scale. Well, I think that promoting sustainable transition at 360 degrees is actually the main theme of an industrial business plan. So all the initiatives that have to do with the supply chains, the digital twin on planning, all of these are lines of execution of a mission which goes well beyond purpose. And I think we have to allocate substantial capital, and then it takes the consistency, not just simply to work on the basis of events and conjuncture, but also to have a history, to have a focus in the execution and measurement of results. The last topic is this: small and medium-sized enterprises. SMEs in Italy play a very important role. The complexities, the challenges of today about innovation and technology, last but not least sustainability, are quite difficult to digest by individual single companies, especially if we want to create a system based on scale and if we want to accelerate growth. And so I think that models of cooperation, sort of consortia, where more enterprises contribute with human financial resources in order to create excellent capabilities, easy to use and sustainable when it comes to costs, is an essential element which can also draw advantage from the various skills that each of these companies might have given the sector they belong to. So there are two final sentences I'd like to mention with you. The first is to promote the right mechanisms. The second, also to do all we can in order to have mechanisms, specific mechanisms that can promote this type of aggregation. This is my vision, but it is also the outcome of the discussion in Davos. If these forces I've mentioned can be joined, and if transformation is an essential element for the companies, we will be able to reach this result. And we must be very well aware that if we're not going to do that, somebody else is going to do that. So it's not just a matter of being compliant, the ability to react to what the system asks us to do in order to achieve a specific target, but also the ability to grow and to occupy different spaces in the new world, spaces which can emerge in the new world to promote further development. I think that as a country, Italy has many assets. We are a lean country, we have innovation, we have a good human capital. And I think that the next jump we have to make is to connect the various dots together, creating a system, being sufficiently ambitious, not to live today for tomorrow, but also to create and promote industrial development that is a systemic development which can project us towards the near future, which can be the very basis for our system as a country. Thank you very much.
Grazie. Grazie Fabio Benasso.
Thank you, Fabio Benasso.